Hey everyone, welcome back. I've got some more Lost Ark content for you today. Specifically, we'll be taking a closer look at the warriors. This is sponsored by Amazon. They asked me to give you guys an overview of the 3 warrior classes to try to help you figure out which one of these might be right for you. So let's get right into it. With the Western launch of Lost Ark, the warrior archetype will have 3 subclasses for you to choose from: the Berserker, the Paladin, and the Gunlancer. Now each of these are primarily melee focused, as you might assume. There are a few ranged abilities, but for the most part you are meant to be out on the front lines, dishing out damage and helping your team. The great news is that each warrior subclass excels in multiple roles in the game. For both PvE and PvP, any of these are going to be a pretty strong choice. Whatever you're planning to focus on, you really can't go wrong playing one of the warriors. Starting us off is the Berserker. This is the first class that I was initially drawn to. He carries a massive sword and he swings it really hard. Now, the Berserker is a top tier burst damage class. You're really mainly focused on lining up your abilities to try to dish out a ton of damage in a small window. Now, while strong alone, Berserkers especially excel with just the tiniest bit of support to help offset some of their weaknesses, and at that point, you become a damage dealing machine. For the Berserker class identity, you have a Fury meter that will fill up when you attack, and once it is full, you can hit Z to enter burst mode. Once in burst mode, you just become a crazy god. You attack 20% faster and have a 30% increased crit rate. On top of that, you can hit Z a second time to activate Bloody Rush. This is a skill that slashes for massive damage, then stabs forward, dealing more damage and knocking enemies back. When you first start playing this class, things are on the slower side for the Berserker. That's definitely the case. They've got some fairly long cooldowns, and sometimes you might be left waiting on abilities. As things progress, things really speed up for the class and it becomes much more fluid. On the PvE side, you are one of the strongest burst damage classes. For that reason, you're great for chunking health bars. Also, you've got debuffs on enemies as well as buffs for your allies that just across the board will help boost your party damage. Having a Berserker in your group is just going to mean you're dealing a lot more damage to the boss. In terms of PvP, they are also very strong, really in that team setting though. If you have a group that can help peel and set up engagements, you're really able to wipe up players pretty quickly, but they do need a little bit of support. But with that, they really become a powerhouse. So, if you like hitting things hard, I think the Berserker across the board is a pretty good choice. Next up, we've got the Paladin, wielders of the light and a one-handed sword. Paladins are kind of this offensive healer. They deal okay damage. It's not quite on par with the pure DPS classes, but they can definitely help out, and they are the best damage dealing support. Actually, that's their main role though, as a buff and support class. In fact, the Paladin is one of only 2 supports that are playable in the game. So while you're dealing damage, you're primarily there to aid your allies with shields as well as a passive heal. As a Paladin, the class identity is this piety meter. It will fill up when in combat and dealing damage, and once it's full, you've got 2 different abilities you can choose from. There is Sacred Executioner, which increases the attack range of basic attacks and punish skills by 30% while also increasing the damage of those attacks and abilities. Or you can choose to activate Holy Aura, which creates this 12 meter aura around your character, increasing all party member damage by 10%. So basically your choice is a stronger buff for yourself or a buff across the board for your teammates, and that's really what you're likely to do in a group setting. Now, while leveling, you're certainly able to hold your own. You can clear the content, you can make it to the story, and you can do a fair bit of these solo things. Your damage isn't that bad, but certainly come endgame, expect to be a support. That is the role of a Paladin. You are there to help out your team, helping them survive and do more damage. In PvE, Paladins are highly sought after because, again, they are one of only 2 supports in the game, so any party is going to want either you or a bard in their group pretty much for all of the content. You're not going to be a strong damage dealer here though. I have to reiterate that. The class just does not scale well compared to pure DPS classes. Your strength is your supporting skills, your shields, and your healing. However, in terms of PvP, with the way scaling works in Lost Ark, the Paladin is actually a real damage threat on top of all of their powerful support skills. So in addition to your shields and your healing, you've got some strong peeling and damage dealing capabilities. So if you want to feel like a holy warrior dealing some damage, but primarily helping your team, I think you would be happy with the Paladin. And last but not least, we have got the Gunlancer. Now, at first glance, this looks like a tank, and it is the tankiest class in the game. The truth is though, it's just a super durable damage dealer. It keeps up with every other damage class while also being tanky and supporting the team. I think the best way to think of it is, instead of like a glass cannon, you are a rock. You deal boatloads of damage while just standing still rather than like hopping around evading damage. No, you just sit there, you take the damage, and you deal it back in return. This has actually become one of my favorite classes since playing it, and it looks like a strong contender for my main pick. One unique mechanic for the Gunlancer is that instead of a forward dodge or dash, which all of the other classes have, Gunlancers have this short range backstep. It's also the evade with the shortest cooldown, so you can dodge damage more frequently than other classes. For the class identity, Gunlancers have this shield meter. It will fill up passively as well as every time you attack an enemy. And then at any point, no matter how full the meter is, you can activate one of two skills. There is defensive stance. This surrounds you with a shield that absorbs incoming attacks, depleting your shield meter instead of your health. The only drawback is you move 50% slower. On the plus side, it completely ignores enemy attacks, mechanics, gives you push immunity, so you can just sit there and not flinch. You can ignore mechanics with this skill. It's crazy. Your other skill is the battlefield shield. This will consume all of your available shield meter at the time. It lets you move instantly to any location and then smash down damaging enemies while also giving you a shield proportional to the consumed shield meter, as well as granting push immunity to your team and redirecting any damage they take to you for 5 seconds. For all of these reasons and more, Gunlancers are highly valued in PvE group content. They can just make fights so much easier. They can distract the boss, they deal strong, consistent damage, and they keep the boss faced away from the other DPS, which in turn makes their jobs of dealing damage easier. Gunlancers offer the group shields, they offer a cleanse and damage redirect abilities. All of this will help offset mistakes. They've got that taunt skill that can even skip some mechanics. They can ignore mechanics themselves thanks to defensive stance, and they're also pretty good at clearing trash. They've got a lot of abilities that deal massive increased damage to trash mobs. In the PvP side of things, they are really good at peeling and disrupting enemies and just in general supporting your team. In general, you are there to make the other team's life a lot more difficult so that your DPS can take them out. Currently, the Gunlancer is my favorite class, and yeah, this is probably what I'm going to play at launch. So there you go, that is an overview of the 3 warrior classes available for the Western release of Lost Ark. As I said at the top, you really can't go wrong here, whether you want to be a burst damage god, a shield and healing support, or an immovable rock that also hits hard. Any of these warrior classes are a pretty good choice. Thank you guys for watching, hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one.